about on Deebo Samuel and your interest in bringing him back?
I've gone from excited to cooled to indifferent. And,
Indifferent's actually a good word because
Yeah.
as I sit here right now, I would not be upset at all at the right price to bring him back.
on a binary, I just don't think the right price exists. I think someone will pay for the high-end part of that skill set that you only get for a short amount of time.
If
It
he
feels
was
like.
willing to come back here for 1 year at, let's say, $15 million, I don't think this is a thing. I don't think it's reality.
Right.
But we've seen a few guys like Zach Ertz or Bobby Wagner or whatever, end of their career, hang around for 1 year deals because they think they can win.
Mhm.
Let's just say he sold on Jaden Daniels. Who was it recently that I was watching a public comment? Oh, it was Von Miller. Miller has his own show, and he was talking about Jaden, and he called him like this silent killer, and he's like, I'll do whatever I can to stay there and play with that guy again next year. Something along those lines. Like, players really respect this dude. They think he's the real deal. They think he's going to be a winner for years to come, and that's exciting to me. But if Deebo said, yeah, I could go get a 2-year deal for 30 mil or 2-year deal for 40 mil maybe, that isn't fully guaranteed. Or I could just sign a 1-year deal here for 14 mil with incentives to make up to 20 or something. And he took that contract. I think I'd be interested in bringing him back, but it would not be through the guise of him being my number one weapon, which he was for the majority of the first half of the season with Terry out. And even when Terry's back, I still need another guy between Terry and Deebo probably. Like Deebo is now, to me, it's not that old. He's only 7 years into his career. He's only 29 years old. But there's more mileage on this car. There's more collisions. When you look at the Carfax report, there's a lot of things when you lift up that hood where you go, he lives hard on the field.
Yeah.
It's a lot of violence, collisions. It's a dude that's always on the precipice of kind of being out of football shape. Not a knock. I don't mean that negatively. It's just kind of the body type.
That's what it is, yeah.
So I would want to be a 1-year pact. And I would want it to be on the cheap if he's willing to come back. If it's a multi-year commitment,
I just don't see it.
To really build around him, I can't do that.
I can't either. And who knows how we haven't gotten to too many of these with Peters, right? Where there's, a history where he might love the guy so much just because he's, all he is tough as nails. He's a willing blocker. He's earning those tough yards. He's underneath, taking on a lot of contact, etc. And he may just say, yeah, that's the kind of dude we want around. And you haven't had too many of those bad contracts where you're looking up going, oh my God, when is this going to expire? When can we get out of this one? Because this is a disaster. We've done these short-term things to kind of build this group sort of in a hurry. And this is one of the first couple of crossroads. All in on paying Larry Tunsil, by the way. Let's go market rate, lock him up. All pro caliber, whether he's a Pro Bowler, all pro, don't care. Position is solved. It's valuable. Let's do that. For Deebo, though, if it is that 1-year deal that I think doesn't exist, I'm all for it. I just think there's more out there for him that he may not want to do that. Right?
I don't know what the market's going to be for him because there was so much mixed feeling and reporting on him coming into this year with Washington. Is he washed? Is he not? He was coming off of 51 catches for 670 yards, about 13 per catch, and his touchdowns had fallen off and his productivity had fallen off. He's averaging 9.3 yards per catch this year. 9.3. To give you context, that's tight end yard per. That's like a Zach Ertzian kind of number. But in his career, he's about a 14-yard per catch guy coming into this year. He had a year where he was over 18, which is an all-pro season. But for the most part, it's been somewhere between right around 11.5 and 15 yards per catch. This year, he's barely over 9. So I think you've seen back-to-back years where the explosiveness has gone away. Now, over the final 3, assuming he plays 3 times, he's going to end up in the 750 to 800-yard range on 70 or so catches. So this will be a better year than last year in terms of durability potentially and usage, but the calling card of Deebo is kind of gone in the way of the prime of his career in San Francisco. And while that was a question coming into this year, I think we now know this is what it is. Also, early season Deebo, before he got banged up, before he was taking on a bunch of contact, before he was running through tackles and trying to run people over, at the beginning of this season, he was a different guy.
Yeah.
Week 1 against the Giants, 7 for 77, I was going, they got something.
What a steal.
When he played at Atlanta even, had a touchdown, went 6 for 72. The next week against the Chargers, So this is right around 5 weeks into the season. They're 3-2. He goes 8 for 100 and a touchdown in that game. And he was a top 15 receiver or so in the league, certainly fantasy wise at that point in terms of catches and yards and touchdowns. He had touchdowns in 3 of their first 5 games. But since then, when he got banged up going into the Bears game,
Yep.
it's just been different.
Yeah.
Yardages of 15, 11, 29, 41. He's had, I would say, 2 really productive games and 1 awesome game since week 5 against the Chargers, which is when they've been losing constantly.
Yeah.
The only game was that Miami game with the screen that went for a touchdown of 28 yards, and he went 7 for 74. Otherwise, it's a lot of 3 and 4 catch, 30 and 40-yard games where a bunch of the yards kind of come in garbage time.
He's a 3/3 guy. And what I mean is 1/3 of the games you're going to go, oh my God, how awesome is this? What a weapon. What an absolute joy it is to have this guy on the roster. 1/3, what are we even doing here? Why are we doing this? And then, there's a third that's kind of in the middle. That's sort of nondescript. People will pay a premium sometimes for that first third. Because let's say, I'm just making this up. Let's say you're the Bills and you need one thing to get you over the top. You don't need him in week 5 playing the Jets, but you might in week 18 with the division on the line playing the Patriots. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things where somebody might fall in love with that potential. Maybe you pace him and keep him healthy or try to, such as it is, and sort of break it out when you need it. Maybe. Again, I have no idea how to anticipate what the market's going to be in this, his walk year, his free agent year. And we're talking about, 750, 800 total yard pace, which is not remarkable. That's not something that we usually want to pay up for.
I'm not going to roll the dice on Debo, I don't think, unless, again, this is a hometown discount after enjoying it here. And let's just say he really buys into the brotherhood.
Get that. Thank you. There's a bell.
And he's all in on DQ and Kingsbury and Jaden. But that's the path for me, because I don't think you have the luxury of not getting younger. At that position, you're already going to be paying Terry big money, and he's going to be presumably your wide receiver 1, and he's going to be 30, 31, whatever he's going to be into next season. Debo would be another 30-year-old wide receiver at good money. I'm just getting younger and faster and twitchier there. Your separators, people who can win in man coverage. Like, that's not really Debo's game. He is I always say, like a 18-wheeler. You get him rolling downhill and nobody's going to stop him on some of this stuff around the line of scrimmage. You block it up. He goes and gets you 15 on a 3rd and 13 a couple of weeks ago against Minnesota on that opening drive. That's the secret sauce for him. But if I'm going to redo the receiver position, which I think I am, I'm kind of tearing this thing down to the basics here. Noah Brown back on injured reserve today. We haven't talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for your services.
Really appreciate it.
Hail Mary was amazing.
Yep.
It has been a good run. You can continue playing elsewhere. And it's not personal. I love the guy. It seems like a good dude. You just can't stay healthy. So moving on. But I've got Terry McLaurin and then depth pieces, Luke McCaffrey on a rookie deal, my kick returner, and Jalen Lane on a rookie deal, my punt returner, who will both be contributors on special teams and proved this year they could do those two things, kicks and punts, at a high level. So that could be wide receivers like 4 and 5, let's say. Now I need wide receivers 2 and 3. My sneaky suspicion / fear is that one of those ends up being Brandon Ayuk, perhaps.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be players for him because it's Adam Peters and it's San Francisco and it's Daniel's best buddy and it's a guy who might be available on the cheap. And if you can get him on a 1-year show me nothing contract, then you absolutely should kick the tires. But I don't think you can bet big on him with his injury history. That the year
and whatever
he just
this
had.
is,
well,
whatever's
yeah,
going on right now.
Kyle Shanahan is so over him, it's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
He was asked about him yesterday, and his answer, I think I tweeted it at Grant H. Paulson, but you could just tell, like, no one's ever been more exasperated by somebody than he is with Brandon.
You know, what was the line? We haven't heard from him in months.
Yeah, he's like, I don't know, man. He's like, I know you guys are just getting wind of this, but I haven't seen the guy in 6 weeks, so we've known this is how this is going to go for a long time. Talking about putting him on this did not report list for the rest of the year. Basically just rolled out on San Francisco. Now, if you want to welcome that into the Brotherhood, you're welcome to. But they've made a couple of these decisions where they're bringing these guys in where it's like, okay, that's not necessarily the Brotherhood guy. That's more the me guy, it would feel like.
Not the past ring, but the ring before. Really resounding and kind of kept resonating for an extra, like 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 count.
Probably a good sign for the Brotherhood.
See, like, that's the regular ring. See, that one's vibrating a little bit more. It's still going. But now it's 2 ago was just unbelievable. That was the cleanest ring you've ever had.
4 weeks into the season, I was all in on re-upping with Debo. Midway point of the season, I would say I was like 60% on the scale
I'm
of
starting
like
to Reggie
wanting to do
Wayne.
it.
Yeah.
As we've gone, I've dropped, and I'm now in the mid 40s. But you said something at the beginning of the conversation where you're like impartial or you don't really have a take. If they brought him back at the right price, I'd be fine, but I'm not moving mountains to do it. And my preference would actually be get younger, get faster, get more explosive with some wiggle.
Yeah. In an ideal world, let's just say I don't have to worry about anything. Yeah, on a binder, I'd rather have him than not have him, right? And it's a weapon you could trot out if, certain matchups you can exploit. Great. I'm still most interested in a speedy receiver on the opposite side. I need an outside guy that can take the top off the defense. They need a consistent deep threat for the weeks that maybe it's not the answer for McLaurin or that he can't go or something. They need someone who can go down the football field. Again, doesn't have to be every week. You need to have the option. That's happening with or without Deebo Samuel for me as I'm sort of building this thing. So again, I'd like to have him, but I cannot go win a bidding war for that guy, whereas I will for Laramie Tunsil.